Welcome inside the vaults. My name is Sarah Ellison, and I'm excited to be here with you for this noonday live stream. As you can see, Bobby Trossett is not yet back with me. My guy is he's dying. He's dying, not literally, but he's having a hard time getting over this illness. Talk to you guys about his celebration over the weekend with his family, his brother graduating. His dad comes into town, got him sick, got his sister sick. The whole Trossett family seems to be down. And so, once again, I thank you, Bobby, on the back end for helping me get this all together. So, he is trying to help, but not exactly camera or microphone ready. So, the show does go on. And man, did you guys check out the release of Ravens Wired last night? Because I sure did. And I want to pick out a few things that really stuck out to me. So we're going to go through Malaki Starks at the Combine with the Ravens in his interview. Remember, Eric DeCosta said that it was the best interview he's ever had at the Combine. And so we get an inside look at that. We're going to look at what was going down, which it was kind of a madhouse inside the draft room when they were about to be on the clock at number 27. I want to look at a little bit of Mike Green and what was going on and the decision of picking him. And then Chuck Smith, the outside linebackers coach, his reaction once the Ravens turned in the card and got Mike Green. That is going to go down as a classic. I've got that for you. I want to talk about Carson Vincent and George Warhop essentially pounding the table for him and a few other nuggets coming out of that. Then we will turn the page. There's been some news on the linebacker market with the San Francisco 49ers extending Fred Warner, where he finally takes over as the highest paid linebacker, inside linebacker in the league. And Roquan Smith had held on to that title of the highest paid inside linebacker for many years, I believe since 2022. I think they signed him right after 2022. So he's held that title for a while. We're going to look at his cap hit, and I'm going to ask you guys this question, which we will discuss. Is Roquan Smith currently playing up to his contract levels? So I'll give you some context to that, but start thinking about that. We will have that discussion if he's doing that. Ardarius Washington sent a message. Looks like he's been through surgery. So we'll get into that and then some quick hits. So I'm excited to be here with you guys and ready to jump in on this Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. On this Tuesday afternoon. And so Malaki Starks. Where would the Ravens be right now had they not taken Malaki Starks in the first round? Especially now knowing that Ardarius Washington has torn his Achilles during a conditioning session at the Ravens facility earlier this month. Where would you be? This is why, especially in the first round, you cannot draft based off of need. We felt like the Ravens were looking pretty good with Kyle Hamilton and Ardarius Washington, but you wanted that third safety so you could move Kyle Hamilton around. Just so you could have that luxury. Well, for now, that luxury's gone again. I'm sure EDC will go out to the free agent market, but holy crap, where would the Ravens be right now at safety had they not taken Malaki Starks? And the reason why I set it up that way is because it seemed as if they were flirting with the idea of not taking him. They had some offers, more than one to trade back, may even go outside the round. But I'm going to start with how he just sent chills throughout this Ravens organization with his combine visit. Like I said, Eric DeCosta told us that it was the best interview he's ever had, the way he breaks down tape. So we got some tidbits of it. It was kind of sporadic throughout the show. I put it all together, cut it up so it's all together. Obviously using screen grabs for copyright purposes. But finally, we got a look inside that combine interview and why he was so impressive. And let me just say this. When an offensive coordinator is going hard for a defensive player, you know he's got to be impressive. So here we go at the combine in Indianapolis.
Nice reading about that. I talked to Coach Metcalf at Georgia. He said you were a quarterback in high school?
Yes, sir.
Yeah? You were like Lamar or what?
No, I wasn't like Lamar.
No.
I was close enough.
Okay. So here we
I'm going to pause periodically because I have captions up there. Sometimes this isn't always easy to hear. It's not like these guys have on mics. But the defensive backs coach for the Ravens said that he had heard that Malaki Starks played quarterback, and he's like, Lamar, listen, you're not gonna bait Malaki Starks into saying, yeah, I was like Lamar Jackson, the 2-time MVP. Okay. He's like, yes, sir. I played quarterback. Were you like Lamar? No, sir. Listen, nobody in the league plays like Lamar. This is a generational player. Thank you already, Malaki Starks. You are gaining my respect inside this interview.
Here we go. I'm going to start with some coverage stuff, okay? When I put this film on, I want you to just tell everyone in the room kind of where you are, and then imagine I'm a freshman,
Right.
and you're coaching me. Tell me as much as you can about your defense and what you guys are doing, okay?
So right now we're in cover 3. I think it's called Zoro. So I'm playing Rip Liz. I'm playing Liz come to the left. Dan Jackson, our free safety, is playing Rip. He's first and fourth crosser. Right now I'm working off of 3, and they're playing push off of 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
We got that a lot, especially.
Y'all notice how Malaki just kept getting more and more excited? Like when he first starts talking about the film breakdown, he's just sitting back in his chair, right? He's sitting back, and he's kind of pointing up at the TV screen. Then as he's starting to get going, he like sits up. Then all of a sudden he's at the edge of his seat. And then before you know it, he stands up and he's right in front of the TV. He doesn't have a laser. Okay. Usually these guys have lasers. You can just see the excitement growing over film study for Malaki Starks. Okay. And this is one of the things that people rave about him about, is that his football IQ, his football intelligence, the way he can break down film. He knows where he's supposed to be. He knows where his teammates are supposed to be. And he knows what the offense is up to. He can read it. That type of stuff is more common in a savvy veteran. I cannot tell you how much Ray Lewis and Ed Reed back in the day preached about film study. They especially needed it when they faced the Peyton Mannings and Tom Brady's of the world. This is not something that usually you get that type of excitement for, right? This is like nerd football kind of excitement. You usually get excited over a big hit, an interception, a sack, something like that. No, he starts back in his seat, comes a little bit forward, comes to the edge, stands up. Malaki getting himself, super excited over film study. Let's keep going.
Intangibles. What makes these guys who they are? What are their drivers? What are their motivations?
Just kind of competitive nature. I feel like I'm the best. I want to go compete with the best. I want to put myself in position to go compete.
All right, man. Great job.
Yes,
yeah, good luck out there.
Yes, sir.
Good luck. Yeah.
Malaki was a beast yesterday. Malaki Starks. He was awesome. He was awesome.
He's on point right up.
Yeah.
I mean, his eyes are wide awake. He's smart.
Yeah, Malaki was.
Malachi's a stud. From the moment, like you can tell him recruiting him at Georgia, you can tell him wide awake. Like, great family. Like, that's what stud. Like, it's like, all right, like, this guy's different. Like, whatever skill set he's got, he's maximized.
One of those where you walk out.
Yeah, no, because what you see is what you get.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
there isn't, like, all right.
Right.
Great dude.
Yeah.
Works
Yeah.
hard, athletic as hell.
So for, again, the audio only, after Malaki Starks leaves the room, if you're wondering who the 2 scouts are, there's Andrew Raphael, who's the director of college scouting, and Joey Cleary, who's the assistant director of college scouting. And you're going to see them a few times throughout these clips, obviously, because they're a massive, important part. In fact, when you start drafting on day 3, it's these type of guys that are really stepping up. These are the guys that are like, they've been out with these scouts. They've been looking at these guys. They know. And so here they are. Malaki Starks leaves the room. And first they're with offensive coordinator Todd Monken, who was in the room for all of it. And by the way, Todd does have a connection to Malaki. He actually helped recruit him at the University of Georgia. Okay, so we know that Todd Monken was the offensive coordinator at that time. Malaki Starks wasn't huge yet by the time Monken had left for the Ravens, but obviously they crossed paths there. And so here we have an offensive coordinator raving about a defensive player that he had a small amount of time at Georgia, and now he's going to have a little bit more time here. Usually the offensive coaches are pounding the table for guys that they want to get on offense. But how can you not? He can't help himself, and how can he not? How can he not? He recognizes talent when he sees it. He said it right there. You see, this is my favorite part. We know Malaki Starks is athletic, but his measurables were not through the chart at the combine. That's why Nick Eamon-Wari started to take off at the combine. His stock started to rise during that time. Malaki Starks' measurables weren't there, but when you watch him on the field, he's got all the athleticism in the world. But let's say he's got a little bit less than Nick Eamon-Wari. Is Nick Eamon-Wari going to do, does he have the characteristic that Todd Monken just said that Malaki Starks has? Which is, he is going to maximize whatever talent he has. Because that's the approach that he has between his smarts and his drive and his just ability to read a room, and understand what is required. He's come in a football family. He knows what sacrifice means. He knows what team means. That's your offensive coordinator saying he is going to maximize his ability to the utmost absolute peak possibility. So you need that background, knowing how much they loved him. These side conversations, there's no microphones on them. They're whispering. We can hardly hear it. That's why there's captions there. That's why I'm trying to recap it. Okay, this is just honest conversations that they got going on while they're eating lunch. Malaki Starks, he's a stud. That's how much they love him. So cut from that to later in the show, where now the Ravens are almost on the clock. There's a lot going on here, and I don't know for sure that my interpretation of it is correct, but I think I'm doing pretty decently because there's a lot of phone calls coming in. They're doing analysis of a lot of different players and trying to compare Starks to other players that they could potentially get. So let's go inside the draft room, knowing how much they love Malaki and knowing how many opportunities they're getting to trade out and away from Malaki Starks.
Still on the board for the Ravens, surprisingly, here as we get into the 20s.
Hey, Andrew and Joey, come down here. Put you down in a little spot.
Okay, so Andrew and Joey, I just told you who they were. Okay, Andrew is the director of college scouting. Joey is the assistant director of college scouting. They're in the draft room. They're almost on the clock, a couple picks away. EDC is saying, hey, guys, come over here to the table. And at this table, it's EDC, it's John Harbaugh, Ozzie Newsome in the house. Well, Ozzie hates to be in front of cameras. I often think that people forget how much of a voice he still has. He's at the head of that draft table still. You've got Steve Bisciotti sitting right across from Eric DaCosta. And all of a sudden, you know, the director of college scouting and the assistant director get called up, and EDC's like, hey, I'm going to put you on the spot. Here's all of the Ravens leadership, and I'm going to ask you a question. I want your opinion.
And I know you both like Starks, so who would you take? Starks. What separates those two guys?
The intangibles, the makeup, Starks' playmaking. It's not close as far as what you get into the makeup. I just think Starks.
Okay, so he's coming up and he's asking them to compare Starks to an unnamed player. Who do you like between these two? My guess, and it's only a guess, is that he's asking them to compare Starks and Eamon-Wari. Now, it could be Starks and somebody else from another position, somebody who's, you know, drafted or rated high on their draft board. It could be, I don't know. My guess is that it's Eamon-Wari. And whether it's Eamon-Wari or somebody else that's somewhat ranked close to Starks, both of these scouts are like, it's Starks and it's not even close. And it's just, they're basically saying he checks so many boxes. They were like, it's his complete makeup. And after they listen to them and get their input, and by the way, that's what a good leader does. There are so many people that won't listen to other people's opinions. In my view, when you can't listen to other people's opinions, it's because you are not confident in your own position, in your own role. You can't even hear other opinions. No, bring them up, listen to the opinions. He gets it. Then once they're finished, EDC looks at everybody around the table, Ozzy, Steve, John. He says, honestly, I'd take Starks over the second unnamed person who might or may not be Eamon Wari. Okay, let's continue.
So it's
two picks away. The Falcons are on the board now, and then the Ravens.
Maybe someone calls us and wants to come on. I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to it if I got 2 or 3 guys.
Pick is in for Atlanta, so they are on the clock. The Ravens are on the clock.
I'm open to moving back, potentially. What would you offer? You got all these picks now. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I mean, my phone's ringing. I'm thinking about picking, yeah. Why, you want to get back in? You just trade it out. You want to get back in? All right, let me look at it. I'm not as good as math as you are. I was an English major, so I have to look at it. If we did trade, we'd be looking at a situation, in my opinion, where we might be looking at Starks going here to Philly. I'm just guessing, but Starks going to Philly.
Okay, let's pause this. So he gets a phone call. We already know that Philadelphia did call Eric DeCosta for a trade. We know that because the Eagles put out a video and you can see Howie calling around and he called EDC. However, that clip right there, I don't think is of Philly because of what Eric said to the person on the other side of the phone. He said, you just traded out and now you're trying to get back in. So let's look at who did that. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. So there were 2 trades right before the Ravens where the New York Giants come back in at number 25. Or excuse me, did the Giants trade differently? But there was a trade right there at number 25. And then the Atlanta Falcons traded in at the Los Angeles Rams spot. So Houston moved out and the Rams moved out. My guess is that could have been Atlanta on the other side because they were jumping in to get a pass rusher, an edge rusher. You guys remember when I went on a television program in Las Vegas, or excuse me, a radio program, when I was on the clock, I chose James Pierce Jr. for the Ravens. He was there at number 27. It wouldn't shock me if Atlanta felt like the Ravens, knowing that they needed pass rush help, it wouldn't shock me that maybe the Falcons thought that the Ravens wanted Pierce. So they call the Ravens. Eric DeCosta is like, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. He starts talking to him. He's like, okay, let's say theoretically I go ahead and move out for the Atlanta Falcons to come in. Or excuse me, for the Rams, because the Rams, he's saying you just moved out, you want to get back in. So I'm thinking it's the Rams. And then he's thinking, but he's like, my guess is that the Eagles will take Malaki Starks. So he, in his mind, thinks that he's going to lose Malaki Starks if he trades out. Who I think might have been on the other end was the Rams. Again, this is all guessing on my end, but my guess is that it's the Rams. So he's realizing he's going to lose Starks if he trades out. And they were talking about if they had one of 3 guys there, they would go ahead and move back and maybe one of the 3 would still be there. And he's getting a gut feeling, nah, this isn't going to be good for us. So let's go back. And he's going to call back and say, I think I'm just going to stick and pick.
Baltimore Ravens are on the clock.
Hey, I'm going to pick. Thanks, man. Starks. Thanks. Malaki.
How you doing?
Hey, this is Eric DeCosta with the Ravens. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Hey, how would you feel about coming to Baltimore and playing for our defense?
I've been sitting here way too long, Coach. I'm ready.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
It was going to be dicey if we traded back, and I was going to lose my mind because I had a feeling we were going to get swooped. I don't think we were going to get any of those guys. Not the amount of calls you were getting.
With the 27th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Malaki Starks, defensive back, Georgia.
All right. Listen, he had a gut feeling it wasn't going to work out. I don't know if the Eagles wanted Starks. I originally for sure thought the Eagles wanted Starks. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles team production, the way they made it seem like when they were celebrating after they got Jihad Ward, the owner Lori goes over to Howie Roseman. He's like, well, we just had to stay patient. We got our guy. And he's like, well, we weren't being patient. We were forced to be patient. But yeah, we ended up getting our guy. So my gut feeling was that they were going to try to get Starks. That obviously was EDC's gut feeling. But the way Campbell, I don't know, the way they put it together, it seemed like Campbell was their guy. So we may never know. We may never know. But either way, he didn't feel good about it. And he did not want to give up Starks. And we can see all the way back to his combine when, or I don't even know if that's when they first fell in love with him, but for sure. So Eagles end up with Campbell, Ravens end up with Starks. And to be honest with you, again, now that we know our Darius Washington is gone, this move seems even bigger than it did that night. It seems even way more important and a better pick than it did that night. Let me get to a couple super chats. Then I want to move on to some stuff about Mike Green that was going on in the draft room. Zhang, thank you so much for your $10 super chat. She writes, the Wired episode was great. I got chills while watching it. Bobby, if you're seeing this, you need to start taking ginger shots once a day to boost immunity. Great solo show, Sarah, as always. Appreciate you. Good advice there. I know Bobby was listening yesterday, so maybe he is today, but he definitely does not feel good. Here's what stinks is he's trying to get ready for a move. So that's just the worst when you don't feel well. Osmodius says, don't draft off measurables. Brashad Perriman? Yes, that was, oh my goodness. You just have to have a gut feeling about, sometimes you just got to know. Sometimes you got to like meet a person, which I'm sure they did with Perriman. But sometimes you just never know. Sometimes guys are like soft-spoken and then they turn into something else on the football field. I mean, obviously film is the most important, but it's definitely not measurables. It's definitely not measurables. So thank you so much, both Osmodius and Zhang, for your super chats. Okay, let's move on to Mike Green. This is pretty cool. They didn't show as much with Mike Green. But it's so funny because the way Eric DaCosta is acting when he starts to see Mike Green, perhaps the second best pass rusher in this draft class, in a pretty deep pass rushing draft class, might I add. The way he's reacting seemed like the way a fan would react sitting watching the draft at home. He is starting to get a grin on his face. He's starting to be like, guys, what if he falls? What if he falls? And then they're like, really, to 59? Come on. And his face gets a little bit red. Except us on the outside was like, dang, what if he falls? But the Ravens aren't going to take him. But little did we know the Ravens had done some investigations of their own and felt super comfortable with him. Eric DaCosta has since said that he's happy that they drafted him, and they're satisfied with their investigations that it was a good move. So watch this as he's falling, and then the reaction on the back end once they get him. Jeff Zrebeck on The Athletic, there's a little cameo of him in here, starts talking about why Mike Green was so good, and then the grand finale, Chuck Smith, and his reaction is so good. Here we go.
He looked like an all-pro. He's got flex for this kid. Nice cooker.
Explosiveness, physicality.
For the audio only, you probably couldn't hear that, but he's looking across, looking at John. He's looking at Steve, and he's like, what if Mike Green falls here? And his face is almost red, and he's grinning. And they were like, at 59? And he says, well, if he gets it, I think we got to take him. And they look at him like, you're crazy for thinking he's going to be at 59. And then Eric says, yeah, he won't be there. Boom, he was there. Boom, they take him at 59. And here's Jeff on Mike Green.
Attitude, swagger. He's as fun as a player as you could watch on tape because he plays with so much energy. And you see these reps where it's like, wow, or he just overpowers another player. He doesn't stop. He plays with a motor, and he plays with physicality. You could see why so many teams were high on him as a pass rusher.
Oh, you coming. Mike Green, baby, let's go.
Let's do that ending again. Let's do that ending again. Give it to us, Chuck. Boom.
Oh, you coming. Mike Green, baby, let's go.
It's good enough for a
Oh,
third
you
time.
coming. Mike Green, baby, let's go.
We coming. Let's go. Could you imagine being a player for a guy like this? This guy in a hallway, it looked like he was in a hallway, is so amped. You know he believes in Mike. I honestly, and listen, they still got to get on the field. They got to get on the field, and we got to see if they can produce. But when you talk about the needs that this Ravens defense has, and the way this board fell for the Ravens, we'll find out if they're as good as they were projected. But on paper, these first 2 rounds fell exactly the way the Ravens needed it. They are now in desperate need of a safety. They got their first round pick in safety Malaki Starks, who even when Darius Washington was healthy, was projected to become the starter. Maybe not week 1, but I'd say by like week 4, week 5, certainly by the end of the season. And what were we all saying? We said it on the show a million times. Pass rush. Ravens need a potential game wrecker. There's Abdul Carter. Then there's Mike Green. Couple guys up in there, depending on whose draft board you're looking at. Some people arguably Mike Green number 2. And we know after this season, Kyle Van Noy, contract's up. After this season, Odafe, he will have played on his 5th-year contract of his rookie deal. You know, there's a great chance that they're both going to be gone. So to get Mike Green in here while you have 2 veterans, so that you don't put all the pressure on him, and then if he happens to ball out, put him ahead of him. If he becomes his game wrecker, go tell him to get after Patrick Mahomes. Week 1, go get Josh Allen. See ball, get ball. It's on paper, and again, we'll see how these guys turn out, but I honestly don't think those first 2 rounds could have fallen any better for the Ravens. And I'm right there with Chuck Smith. Fired up about it. Okay. There's one more person that I want to highlight from this. This was really interesting to me. There was a whole segment where EDC is talking about how on day 3, he wants to see coaches, obviously and scouts, pound the table for certain guys. Everybody has scouted these first rounders, second and third rounders. Everybody knows everything about them. But now you really start to separate yourself as a drafting organization on day 3. And he says something in here about coaches. It's one thing to say you like a guy. It's another thing to say you want a guy. This clip is all about George Warhop, the Ravens' new offensive lineman, who took over mid-season for Coach D, rest in peace, after he passed, which I think was so underreported, including by us here inside the vault. I mean, we obviously reported it, but we didn't talk about the impact that could have. Not only were you having 3 new offensive linemen, but you abruptly lost your offensive line coach who's been coaching for 30 plus years. And his guys loved him. They loved him. The way he could develop guys. It was Coach D's vision to transition Daniel Fa'alele from a tackle to a guard. And I remember him saying, boy, this would be a major coup if we were able to pull this off. So enter George Warhop in probably the most difficult situation any offensive line coach could find him in. 3 new offensive starters. And the previous coach passed away abruptly. Nobody was ready for it. He was in a crazy situation, and he doesn't get enough love for it. The way he was able to help get this offensive line up to a respectable level. And now it's just now they can just take it to another notch. but George Warhop wanted Carson Vincent. Here we go.
One thing to say I like this guy, it's another thing to say I want this guy. And so as we get into the third day, I'm confident that if the coaches really want a guy, they are going to do everything they can as coaches to make sure that this guy succeeds.
George like Vincent, right?
Yeah. Let's take it. He's a big, strong guy. I almost broke my hand when he came in the door. It's huge.
All right, big man. Do not let me down. All right, because I've been fighting my ass off for you. So come in here ready to work. You got that?
Yes, sir. Hey, that's all I do.
Let's go, Carson.
Oh, we finally get a guy.
Yeah. I let you down.
I know you are.
Let me down.
That's good stuff. I promise you.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. So obviously they're on the clock again. 5th round, 141st pick. And, you know, they're about to have a ton of picks in the 6th round. And as they're about to get on the clock, they're thinking about Carson. And they're like, that's George's guy, right? Yeah, George loves him. And Eric's like, well, let's take him. I remember he's a big dude, and he almost broke my hand when he came in on his visit. Shook his hand so hard he felt like he was going to break his hand. He's a big dude. Let's take him. So they go ahead and take him. He's amped. Carson Vincent is on the other end. And I love this part. George Warhop gets on the phone, says, I worked my butt off to get you. You better not let me down. Goes over to John Harbaugh, hugs him, and says, he, meaning Carson, will not let you down. He says, I will not let you down. I promise you that. I'll tell you what, Carson Vincent is about to have the best coaching experience of his life. He is going to be coached up because the way George, and this is to EDC's point, he wants to see coaches pound the table for guys because then he's like, they've got a personal investment in this. If I draft somebody that they didn't like, and then they come on campus and they don't look good, that coach should be like, told you, EDC, told you should have taken my guy. But as the leader that EDC is he gets buy-in. He gets buy-in from his coaches. And the coach is like, if they come on campus and they're not, looking like a starter from day one, they're like, dang, but I pounded the table for you. We're going to fix this situation. And you've got an invested coach. So that was really cool. So I'm going to listen, Carson Vincent is still a 5th rounder out of Alabama A&M, HBCU. And so you can't expect too much too soon. But will George Warhop work his butt off to develop him? Yes. Will Carson Vincent? You tell me. This is awesome. I've been holding on to this. I've been looking for the right time to bring it up on this show. Carson Vincent at the Senior Bowl, he went one-on-one against now division rival Shamar Stewart. Bengals picked him up in the 1st round. I still don't think he signed his contract yet. I don't think. I need to look back up. Last time I checked, he hadn't signed his contract yet. Then again, neither has Mike Green or Starks. So that's got to get done. So check this out. The coaches bring in these two, Shamar and Vincent, and they put some high stakes on this one-on-one because each team will have a punishment if they lose this rep. Check this out. Alabama A&M took the 1st rounder, Shamar Stewart, threw him out the club. Said, you get out of here. One-on-one. Took him out right into the rest of his teammates. Yeah. That's what you like to see. And I tell you what, Carson Vincent was on the Ryan Ripken show shortly after he was drafted. He's going to make you want to run through a wall. This dude's got energy.
What are you most looking forward to about joining the Baltimore Ravens organization?
Man, I get to work. The Ravens is a top class organization, and they're all about work. Like when you think about the Baltimore Ravens, you grab your lunch pill, you get ready to go. It doesn't matter who it is, where it is, what time it is, you get ready to go. So like all I'm trying to do is be the best Raven that I can, and no matter what role I am, and just be Carson Vincent because that's who I am.
Yeah, I'm going to need to get this season this off. I love baseball season, but I'm going to need this to hurry up a little bit. So I can see Carson. I see Zach. You know, Zach, I want to bring you on the screen. Zach's been laughing.
I'm about to run through the wall.
Yeah, let's do it.
Carson, you have me pacing.
We can both run through a wall. I'll run through this gap wall right now.
Let's get it going. Ryan Ripken's got a brick wall behind him. Vincent's got a drywall. I really think Vincent could actually run through that wall. I actually believe that he could. I like Vincent. Listen, and again, let's not be unfair. Ravens got 2 tackles. They've got their starting tackles in Roger Rosengarten and in Ronnie Stanley, obviously. They've got a swing tackle, maybe in Emery. They drafted him in the 3rd round. They also might try to convert him to guard. And maybe whether they feel comfortable moving him at guard is whether they think that Vincent could actually step up if one of the tackles went down. Or maybe they would move Emery back over. So for me, Vincent, I'm going to be just keeping in the back of my mind, 2 years down the line, maybe be like, hey, what about Vincent? Is it his time? Is it his time? Because if a 5th rounder can develop faster than in 2 years, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Would love to see it. But I also don't want to put too much expectations on him. But I like his attitude. I love George Warhop's attitude. I love seeing these 2 guys together. He's just got to get to work. He's got every opportunity in front of him. He's gonna have everybody behind him inside the building. So he'll do good things. Now, speaking of offensive linemen, I just named Emery, and obviously Vincent. And then who was the third? There's a third lineman that the Ravens got. And so EDC joked about how this was a huge offensive line draft and he won't have to do it again for a while. So next year, he jokes, what position will he jump back and focus on?
We wanted some offensive linemen, we got some offensive linemen. This is one of our offensive line drafts. We won't have many of these for 5 or 6 years. So next year we have to go back to taking receivers.
I forgot to put screen grabs on that one. I hope I don't get dinged. Let's cross our fingers. It was only like 5 seconds. So, yeah. So he looks over at Steve Bisciotti and says, all right, Steve, next year I can go back to drafting receivers. Dillinger. Thank you, chat. I think it was Dillinger. 7th round, I do believe. So there you go. Those were my highlights. And those were just a few. That was, I had a lot of commentary on it or whatnot, but go check it out. I think it's a good 30 minutes long. Those were the moments that stuck out to me. All right. Any other super chats here before we change gears? Yes. Daniel. I like to roll my R's. Rodriguez. He says, not going to lie. I'm so excited for Green. Should he be our next sizzle? EDC has been cooking. We might have found our game wrecker. Sarah, keep up the good work. Thank you guys. I find myself a little bit about like Malaki. If I'm ever solo, I just find myself amping myself up more and more. Like here I am amped up about a 5th round offensive tackle out of Alabama A&M. It was building from Malaki onto Green and then Vincent just getting myself excited about these draft picks. Sebastian, Sarah, Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I do speak Portuguese. And so chat is reminding me Dillinger is then the SEC guard. That's right. Out of LSU, right? Out of LSU, who was a steal. Didn't he play with Emery? They're both from LSU. Now that you guys are saying that, I think it's bringing it back from my memory. So, caliente. Yeah. Portuguese, very, very similar to Spanish, but also different too. So, okay. So I promised this topic. I forgot to mention. I just want to mention this one last thing. Baltimore Beatdown did a poll about Eric DaCosta with their followers. So SB Nation, but Baltimore Beatdown is the local arm of SB Nation here in Baltimore. And they did a poll, and the last question was, Do you approve of the job that Eric DeCosta is doing? 96% of Ravens fans. That is very high. 96% of Ravens fans approve of the job that Eric DeCosta is doing as the Ravens general manager. So here's my question to you. Is the entire 4% here inside the vault? Because the vault audience complains frequently. Are you guys not over there taking polls at Baltimore Beatdown? Because I swear all 4% is here. And all 4% is also, well, I don't know. I bet it's a bigger percentage for John Harbaugh that disapprove. But yeah, maybe you guys were joking last week that we don't filter enough, that we don't moderate enough. We let a lot slide here, as I think it should be. And so maybe that's, you guys all have congregated here, Like 96% though, that almost makes you wonder, like, did bots get in there? Like, getting 96% of anybody on the same page is nearly impossible. Like, I could take a poll here in my family of 6. I don't even know how the division works out to be 96%, but they have got to be. I don't know. That just seems crazy to get 96% of people all in agreement. So now I personally do approve of the job. Like, if you just ask a baseline question, see, now Osmodeus over here saying, what are you talking about? In EDC we trust. Hey, listen, it's only 4%. I'm just saying all 4% is here. But that still might be like 15% of the vault audience. So we'll see. But if you were just to ask me straight up, like, do you approve? Yeah. Does that mean that, like, he's perfect? No. But overall, for sure, I approve. You talk about the team with the most drafted Pro Bowlers going all the way back to the Ravens' inception. So going back to 1996, the Ravens have drafted the most Pro Bowlers out of anybody in the NFL since 1996. There are more current players throughout the league that have been drafted by the Ravens than any other team. The draft is the lifeblood of the Baltimore Ravens organization. Jeff said it in Wired last night. He said it really well. The lifeblood is draft, develop, and reward your own. That's the basic strategy. That doesn't mean they don't ever dabble in free agency, but we all know it's not what they love to do. EDC has said that. Roquan Smith is an outside guy that they paid. Derrick Henry is an outside guy that they just paid. Anquan Bolden, Jacoby Jones. So, I mean, obviously they dabble. But when you talk about the backbone of the organization, it's the draft. And I think you can easily say that Eric DeCosta is top 5, maybe top 3 drafters, maybe top 2. I think most people would put Howie Roseman above him and how he's been killing it. They just won the Super Bowl, so I think that's fair. But yeah, 96%. Okay. Let's move on to this conversation that I teased at the top. And it has to do with Roquan Smith. And I bring this up now because yesterday, Ian Rappaport reported, along with Mike Garafolo, pretty sure it's been made official by the 49ers, not sure, that the 49ers and all-pro linebacker Fred Warner have agreed to terms on a new 3-year contract extension worth $63 million. Okay, the deal was done by Justin Schulman of Athletes First. And it makes Warner the NFL's newest, highest paid linebacker. He's getting $56.7 million guaranteed. Listen, I love Fred Warner. And that love started back because he, in his college days, because he went to my alma mater in BYU. He's a former Cougar, just like me. And then he's come into the league and he's just taken it by storm. And I think for many years, there's been like a debate, Fred Warner, Roquan Smith, who's better. And I think after 2024, I would go back to saying the pendulum swung over to Fred Warner. And so Jonas Schaefer put together some numbers that I thought were very interesting. So remember in 2022, the Ravens, Eric DeCosta, traded for Roquan Smith in October, mid-season. And we all loved the move, and why wouldn't we? The defense was struggling, and literally the moment that Roquan Smith touched down on the Ravens campus, the defense started to turn around. It was bananas how quickly it turned around with him in the middle of the defense. He and Patrick Queen, great duo. Great duo. Patrick Queen just wasn't, maybe he's gotten better over the Steelers, I don't know. Patrick Queen just wasn't ready for that Mike role. He was better as the guy next to Roquan. They were a great duo. Now, after that season, knowing how he turned around the defense, seeing what he could do, the leader that he was, the Ravens made him at the time the highest paid inside linebacker at $20 million per year. He has held that title till just now. 3 years later. Think about the quarterback market. Lamar Jackson was the highest paid quarterback just 2 years ago, and now he's number 10. So in 2 years, he went from number 1 to number 10. Roquan Smith held the highest paid title for 3 years. He got paid. The Ravens paid him handsomely. So now Fred Warner only beats him by $1 million per year. It's not like he went up a lot. That's usually how these things work. But as Jonah Schaefer pointed out, here's what's crazy. The salary cap back when Roquan Smith got paid was $208 million. Now it's $279 million. $71 million more, and the inside linebacker market hasn't hardly budged. All that money going to quarterbacks. Quarterbacks just keep getting richer. Although running backs have been making a little resurgence between Derrick Henry, obviously, and Saquon up in Philly. So $70 million more dollars. Inside linebacker hasn't been moving. And Jonah Schaefer says it's because there aren't a lot of blue chip off-ball linebackers, but the market has barely moved. Okay, so let's look at where Roquan Smith now ranks, because now he's 3 years in to his contract. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see the whole list. Okay. Here are your top 10 highest cap hits for the Ravens heading into 2025. Lamar Jackson, $43.5 million. I don't think anybody could argue that Lamar Jackson isn't worth every single penny. From the moment he signed his extension, he became an MVP for the second time, contender for the MVP, should have won for a third time. Anytime he's healthy, it's automatic the Ravens are going to the playoffs. We all know that things need to pick up in the playoffs, both Lamar and everybody else. But he is worth every single penny. When you're looking at Brock Purdy, the Brock Purdys of the world who are getting paid more, the Trevor Lawrences who are getting paid more, so many guys that are getting paid more. And it's like, nah, like maybe Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, you could say, okay, that's fine that they're all kind of together. Patrick Mahomes isn't even in the top 10. Okay. Lamar worth every single penny. Okay. Number 2 on this list for the top cap hits for the Ravens of 2025 is Roquan Smith. It's at $23.7 million. Then Mark Andrews, who's also a controversial figure these days, at 16.9. Nnamdi Madubuike, 16.4. Ronnie Stanley, who just signed a contract extension, which was huge for the Ravens, 13.9. Odafe on his 5th-year contract, 13.2. Marlon Humphrey, 11.9. Derrick Henry with his new contract, 8.4. And then look who gets the top, the number 9 and number 10 spots. 2 guys that have been cut. So they're dead money right here. Marcus Williams at 8.1. Justin Tucker at $7 million. This is why you can't miss on people. That is $15 million in dead money right there going against the cap. Woof. I do like that in purple, though, for Derrick Henry. Okay, so the question becomes, is Roquan Smith playing up to his contract? Is he worth the second highest cap hit behind Lamar Jackson? One other piece of context I do want to put in here is the Ravens have restructured Roquan Smith's contract a few times over the years. And a lot of you out there love restructuring because you're always like, the cap is cap. Go out and get more people, EDC. Go out and get more. You're always advocating to push cap hits down the line. So one of the reasons why Roquan's is so big is because they kept restructuring him, knowing that he would probably, play out the rest of his contract. So some of this, he's already been paid. It's just cap management. It's not like it was that high when he initially signed it. A lot of this is just moving money around. Okay. So to answer the question, I feel like in 2024, Roquan did not live up to his potential. Roquan did not live up to what he's been throughout his career. Roquan did not live up to what he was being paid. He looked slower, a bit slower to me, maybe a little bit bigger. So while I don't feel like he necessarily lived up to it, I do think that people are going overboard when it comes to the Roquan Smith criticism. Now, if that criticism is just to light a fire under him, fine. Although I think he's got plenty of motivation himself. I also do think that people overlook what he was being asked to do in a new Zach Orr defense, because it wasn't just Roquan. We all know that. It wasn't just Roquan that wasn't living up to what we thought he was, to who he thought he was. The whole secondary was a mess. I feel like Marlon's had a resurgent year. I feel like we could take a few years back and be like, okay, Marlon wasn't living up to his, but I feel like he had a resurgent year in 2024. But once the Ravens started making changes on the defense, bringing in not Chuck Pagano, Dean Pease, although they do have both of them now. They benched Trenton Simpson. First, they started taking snaps away from Trenton Simpson slowly, and then by week 15, he lost his starting job for the rest of the year, including into the playoffs. So they started using Malik Harrison a little bit more next to Roquan, Chris Board a little bit more next to Roquan. They started making changes, and then I felt like Roquan was going back to the guy we were used to. Not all the way back, but let's not forget Roquan, whatever. Everybody's got a vote in this, lots of different voices. Sometimes it's a popularity award. But he did get voted into the Pro Bowl again. He did get voted as a first-team All-Pro. He did not repeat for the third time the Butkus Award winner, which goes to the best linebacker in the league. So, but he was a first-team All-Pro last year. Pro Bowler, okay, you can kind of push that to the side. But we were accustomed to a Roquan Smith in 2022 and 2023 who was worthy of the Butkus Award. And he was not that in 2024. He was not. So, what does that mean going into 2025? For me, Roquan has done more than enough in 2022 and 2023, and enough at the end of 2024 for me to predict that he's going to have a resurgent year. I think he will. I'm sure he's heard the critiques. Although it is funny, some people haven't. Did you guys notice a couple days ago, Ramey on Twitter made a tweet about how divided people were on Roquan, and then a bunch of people are like, what are you talking about? Who talks negatively about Roquan? And I'm like, okay. Once again, is it that 4% all inside the vault here? Is that it? There's been plenty of criticism for sure. Although obviously it's not getting to some people in the fan base. So yes, he had a down year. No, I don't think he quite lived up to his contract last year. That being said, I am predicting a resurgent year. I think he's going to come back. Hopefully he'll be in peak shape. Hopefully he is unsatisfied, as we saw with Derrick Henry yesterday. And just that game's eating at him. And Roquan's always been a big talker, so maybe this is hurting him too. He's a big talker. And when he's playing like the best linebacker in the league. We all love it. Ray Lewis was a talker. He backed it up. Roquan couldn't back it up as much last year. And so when he comes out of the gate, we covered this, I think, last week. When he comes out of the gate saying, yeah, we want to get our payback in week 1, which would just be the start of the payback, obviously. A lot of people didn't like it, saying, you're talking too much. Our defense can't cash the checks that you're putting out there, that you're writing. And so you don't like that big talk when you're ranked number 32 in pass defense, even though that's not all on him, although partially on him. You don't like that talk when he doesn't look as fast as he used to be, right? I don't mind it, though. I don't mind it. I don't want him to shy away from high expectations. But you got to back it up this time. You got to back it up. So was he living up to his contract last year? I feel like he was under it. But I do think it's going to be a resurgent year. I do think he's going to return to being a leader. And I think in the second year with Zach Orr, they're now on the same page. I think with some key additions that they've got, I hope he proves me right in my prediction. I hope he proves me right. All right. Meanwhile, moving into quick hits, Ardarius Washington put out an update on his IG yesterday. Looks like Ardarius has had his surgery, officially been done. For the audio-only audience, Ardarius posted a story to his Instagram of him laying in his hospital bed. He's got all those tubes and wires going into his skin. Has a thumbs up looking at the camera. His caption, the prayer emoji. He says, road to recovery starts now. And I remember a similar picture like this that he posted on Twitter a couple years ago when he had surgery on his chest. And he said, I'm going to come back even better. And he was. He came back even better. What a year he had last year. So yes, prayers up to Ardarius. There's a part of me that wonders if potentially he could be back come playoff time. I know he's been declared out for the 2022 season, at least by, national media. But it makes me wonder, and I would love that for him. The Achilles tendon, it seems like people keep coming back from sooner and sooner. I remember with Terrell Suggs, I was like, holy cow, I think it was something like 6 months. Wasn't it around the 6-month mark? Maybe 5.5, something crazy. Now, Ardarius does more running. Does a lot more running. So sometimes you got to get used to that and cutting and all that. Although from a pass rusher position, you're taking on offensive linemen and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I would want that for him, though. If the Ravens go on a run and AD had to watch it from the sideline, that would be gutting. It's already gutting. That's just rubbing salt in the wounds. So for his sake, I hope he makes it back, even if he isn't able to produce too much. I do hope that he would make it back. But yeah, best of luck to him. Much love to him. PFF put out their top 10 players under 25 years old. This is from John Macri or Macri. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Top 10 players under 25. And that's the age at the start of the 2025 season. So maybe some of these guys will turn 26. Number one on the list, Penei Sewell of the Lions, offensive tackle. He's been a stud over there. Then another BYU guy we're talking about today. First Fred Warner and now Puka Nacua. Rams wide receiver. He's been a stud. The Ravens will face what? The Ravens are going to face both these guys this season. I believe the Lions are, what is it, week 3, week 4? Week 3, I believe. I think it goes Bills, Browns, Lions, Chiefs. Is that it? And then number 3, Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton. Then at number 4, I was a little surprised by this to put him at number 4, Jaden Daniels. Maybe they want to see him in his sophomore year. Jaden Daniels. Number 5, Trent McDuffie. Number 6, another Rams. Edge defender this time, Jared Verse. Texans, edge, Will Anderson Jr., another Lions guy, Brian Branch. This is how they're getting playoff. Like, you got to draft well. You draft well, you're going to be making it to the playoffs. Look at all these Lions. on the list. Dang, they've been drafting well. Brian Branch, and then for the Falcons, Bijan Robinson, and then back to one more Lions player, running back Jamari Gibbs. 3 players under the age of 25 for the Lions. Now, here's the thing. If they're like Kyle Hamilton, they're going to be coming up on extensions. Are they going to pay them all? Are they going to be able to pay them all? And once you start paying these guys, are you still going to be able to make it to the playoffs year in and year out? That's the question. But holy moly, good for them. I feel like Jaden Daniels could definitely move up on this list just because of the positional value it made. And I know that's not what PFF is doing here. Trent McDuffie, for sure, a stud. This is why. It's all about drafting well. You got to draft well. Especially once you're paying your quarterback like the Ravens are with Lamar Jackson. Got to get him help through the draft since you're not going to be able to pay for him. Okay, yesterday I was asked about my feelings on the proposal to change playoff seeding. I still doubt that the owners are going to approve it. That being said, Warren Sharp predicted that they will change it, that it will pass. And he says it's for 2 key reasons. He says they're simple, and they hinge around the NFL wanting to increase ratings. You increase ratings, you increase your money. He says playoff seeding by record and reseeding after round 1 will 1, make week 18 more meaningful, and 2, make it more likely that the top 2 seeds reach the conference championship. Then I thought this part was especially interesting, which could maybe sway me. Because I said I wanted the divisions to matter. I like the division rivalries. I like it when teams just dislike each other and winning a division means something. I like that. And by rewarding division leaders, I think you're able to create those rivalries. Now, that being said, what I didn't realize is Warren Sharp clarified and said, because one guy was with me, said, well, then winning the division will be meaningless. And Warren Sharp says, well, winning the division guarantees a playoff berth still. He said it just doesn't guarantee the number 4 seed. I didn't realize that. That could sway me. Because if it still means a lot to win the division and keeps players going and teams going, then even if you're not the number 4 seed, you still want to win that division to get a playoff berth, especially if you're in a poorer division. But then you're also rewarding, you're going to have fewer guys sitting out if you're going to still be paying for playoff seeding. So I could be swayed with that. I still don't know that the owners are going to approve it, but I do like that caveat. Winning the division guarantees you a berth, but it doesn't guarantee you the number 4 seed. I like that. I actually like that a lot. So we'll see. We'll see if that's what they do. More quick hits here. Shedeur Sanders signed his rookie deal. According to Jordan Schultz, they've agreed to a 4-year, $4.6 million rookie contract. So Sanders will now compete to get onto the field. He's got a lot of competition over there. Here's what's wild. Had he stayed at Colorado, his NIL valuation was $6.5 million. He's getting 4.6 because of the rookie pay scale. That's wild. We are in new times. We are in new times that now these guys can make more money by staying in college than coming to the pros. I don't think that Shedeur knew that, however, that he was going to drop all the way to the 5th round. I mean, he gets drafted in the 1st or 2nd round. He's beating that, obviously. He's beating that. Oh, wait a minute. I don't even know if he is, because that $6.5 million for Colorado would have been in 1 year. This is $4.6 million over the 4 years. Woof. It does not pay to drop in the draft. Holy moly. Okay, and finally, last quick hit here. It's just some news from the Super Bowl champs. The Eagles extended their head coach, Nick Sirianni, to a multi-year deal. Thomas R. Peterson, who covers the Eagles, put out his record over the last 4 years. He's 54-23. He's made it to the playoffs in each year. He's been to 2 Super Bowl games and won one of them. It's kind of crazy, though, how, like, at the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024, he was under fire because he wasn't getting along with some of his players, including his starting quarterback. There seemed to be some beef there. I don't know that they were always on the same page. But when you go to the Super Bowl twice in a row and then you win it, winning cures all. Winning cures a lot of problems, a lot of issues, a lot of problems. All right. So that is the end of your super chats. And that is bringing us to the end of today's vault. Today's vault. Tila, we have 1,831 concurrents here. Appreciate all you guys for sticking around while, even though Bobby's not here today. What is this? I'm just seeing this new thing. I'm going to have to ask Bobby about this. We have a new beta where we show comments on the stage. We might have to play with that in the future. But before I do that in the future, let me give a shout out to our patrons. This is my second day in a row where I remembered by myself. I didn't even need Tila or the chat or anybody to remind me. You guys might have reminded me, but I didn't notice it in the chat. It's a lot harder to read the comments, non-super chat comments on a solo day. Like when Bobby's talking, I can check him out. And then while I'm talking, Bobby will check him out. But it's a lot harder to check him out while you're solo unless it's a super chat because I give time for those and put them on the screen. But much love to Patrick York and Dion Coleman for supporting us and being patrons. If you too would like to become a patron, you can check out the link in the show notes, the show description, and go pick a tier that you'd like to support the show. Or if you're on YouTube right now, you can become a Voltron, become a YouTube member. 3 different tiers that you can choose from. We've had a lot of generosity over the last week, especially during leading up to the schedule release. News makes you guys very generous. I will put it that way. News makes you guys very, very generous. I think we had like close to 50 new Voltrons last week because of all those gifts. Something like that. So, yeah. So what we will do is give our love, thoughts, prayers for a Bobby recovery. And I want a recovery for him, not just to have him back here on the vault, which, we all want to hear what he's got to say too. Would love to have him back, but also because he's got a move coming up. He's got all of his family in town. They're all sick as dogs, except for his mom. His mom is still like rising above it all. And I just want him to feel better. It's just not fun. And he's coming off of the Buffalo plague. See, this is why. Should I now be tougher on Bobby and be more adamant that he not go week 1 to Buffalo? I don't think it's a good idea to not get a ton of sleep. I don't think it's a good. I'm telling you, once you get older, you got to get your 7 to 8 hours. There are some people that don't need it. My husband almost never sleeps. And when he is asleep, I'm right next to him. We get phone calls from the hospital throughout the night, every night. I've actually gotten really good at just sleeping through it. He's picking up the phone all the time. I don't know how he does it, but he does not sleep a lot. But most normal people need somewhere between 6 and 8 hours. So that's what we got to get push Bobby to do. I don't know about him. Listen, if he goes up to Buffalo week 1, is this a primetime game? This is a primetime game, right? We can't put him back in that position. And I know it's not going to be as cold as it was when he went up there in January for the playoff game. But should we start putting pressure on? Yeah. Chad is telling me to be tougher. He's also a grown man, and I don't want to be that person, but I can like troll him a little bit, right? Yeah, Kimmy says all you need is 5. That's bananas. Well, I think it's clear both Bobby and I need more than 5. I think that's pretty clear. One more super chat just came in. Dave, how are you, buddy? He said he was hoping Shedeur would have been drafted in the NFC so I could be a fan. I was hoping he could be drafted by the Ravens. Once he started falling, me and Bobby are on 2 different wavelengths on this. Bobby didn't like that. bro, once I started seeing Shedeur, once he was available on day 3, I was in. Because I've just not been confident about the backup quarterback situation for quite some time. We unfortunately saw, and I love him to death, but man, I've even blocked his name out of my mind. Snoop. I loved his personality. I love him as a person, but he just wasn't getting it done. I need somebody who can like win, give me a 50-50 chance here. Break even for me with the wins and losses if Lamar goes down. And so I haven't felt super comfortable, but luckily Lamar hasn't gone down the last 2 years. So then it starts to make you feel confident about the backup position again. I also wonder, I never covered this. Maybe I'll bring this back in. When Eric DaCosta was on the Lounge podcast, they asked him if he considered taking a quarterback. And I know that they just got Cooper Rush, and they're paying a little bit more for it. So clearly they haven't been super excited about the backup quarterback position either. And he said he was thinking about it at one point, but then he was taken right before the Ravens were actually thinking about it. I wonder if that was Shedeur Sanders. Now remember, that would have been in the 5th round. So if it was Shedeur, it would have been in the 5th round, and so it would have been Shedeur instead of Carson Vincent, who we just highlighted. So, but I would have been for. So Dave, I was hoping he'd come to the Ravens so I could really be a fan. But Dave says it will be difficult now, except when he's playing the. I'm not going to say that. You guys can read it. Blitzburg Squealers is how I'll say it. But there was some alliteration there. Okay, now Dave's coming in, and he's doing what he does best. He's going to start trolling Bobby. He says, everyone knows Bobby is soft. I'm only on board with this if I can convince him not to go to Buffalo. Mike M says, Francis T, which is Bobby's father, was in the chat getting on Bobby, LOL. Really? Today? Was that today, Mike? Or was this yesterday? That'd be funny. Yeah, Mike said that was today. Oh, it's too bad I missed it. I don't know how far up it was. Now, wait a minute. Francis is the one that got Bobby sick, so how can he be getting on Bobby? What was that all about, Mr. Francis? Who I just have a ton of respect for. That's funny. Yeah, the prank calls were childish. And he said it was early. What if I scroll up real quick? Will I see Mr. Francis Trossett? Oh my gosh, you guys have been commenting like crazy. I'm never going to get to the top of this. All right. Well, I just think it's funny that he's trolling him, and he was the one who got him sick. That's so funny. I wish I didn't miss that. Oh, Smitty's saying that Bobby lied on his dad. Was that what Mr. Francis was saying? Is that what he was saying? Okay, Mike says, nah, Francis said he was out there with all his kids, but he's not as sick as Bobby. Oh no, that's not the story I'm getting. Maybe we'll have to have both of them on. We'll have to have them both on. All right. Hey, I appreciate you guys on this Tuesday afternoon. I will be back tomorrow for a noonday lunch live stream. We will see if Bobby can join me. I hope he does. Much love to him. Much love to you. I will see you tomorrow at noon. Have a good day.